Hey everybody, before we get into this Scream 7 update, I would like to ask everyone if you can to support the Entertainment Community Fund that is currently helping our actors and writers who are on strike right now. It'll help writers and actors alike for a better livable wage and also so that they don't get replaced with AI, which is insane that that's even a situation right now. So please support if you can, the link for it is in the description of this video. Now let's talk about some Scream 7 rumors.
Well, sometimes that is better.
So getting right into this, according to my friend Steven from Craven Something Scary, a very great YouTube channel you should check out and subscribe to, before the WGA strike started, apparently Radio Silence expressed their interest in departing from the Scream franchise. According to him, he has a reliable source that told him this information. Now, I'm sure Steven would even tell you to take that with a grain of salt. That is not confirmed in any which way. In a past video, I talked a little bit about what if Radio Silence doesn't do the next movie, who else should do it, but I also want to talk about a little bit about the future of Scream, what Scream 7 could look like under the helm of another director. So first, let's talk a little bit about Radio Silence. If they depart from the Scream franchise, honestly, I won't be that upset. Not only do I love both Scream 2022 and Scream 6, but they also brought one of my favorite franchises back from the grave. Every Scream fan, no matter if you like the new movies or not, should be thanking these guys. This is the reason the Scream franchise lives on now. It's unfortunate because one of the best sequels in this entire franchise, Scream 4, and also the last movie that Wes Craven directed, bombed at the box office big time, and that's why there just wasn't another Scream movie from 2011 to 2022. Like, sure, you got the MTV Scream series, but that's a far cry from anything the movies have ever tried to do. I enjoy the series, but it's just nothing compared to the movies. They're still my first choice for Scream 7. I would love for them to do that, but I also think it's sick that they're moving on to other horror projects. Before the strikes started happening, they were filming a movie in Ireland with Melissa Barrera in the lead role, and some of my sources had confirmed that that movie's going to be a Dracula's Daughter reboot, which is going to be so cool. I cannot wait to see that movie, and if you want to know more about that, there's a little card up here for a video I did on it a little while back. The Radio Silence guys have solidified their place in horror history. They are now a staple amongst the community, in my opinion. I am super excited for whatever Radio Silence does next, including that new take on Dracula's Daughter, as well as a new film in the Escape from New York franchise. Ya boy will be covering all of them things. But in regards to Scream 7, now, no, the film has not been officially confirmed yet, even though every Scream fan out there wants it to be, but it is very, very, very likely to happen after the huge box office success of Scream 6 from earlier this year. And also, don't forget, Scream 5 did really well too, pulling in $140 million from the box office the previous year. The Scream franchise is hot right now. I don't see this one going away anytime soon. We will definitely get a 7th entry, even if that comes from a different director, but who could that be? Now, after Scream 6, I was theorizing that maybe Matt and Tyler didn't want to do Scream 7 anyways. There was this article that had come out about how Matt and Tyler were really apprehensive to do another Scream film after Scream 2022, but obviously they had more to say. And in my opinion, I think they totally topped themselves with Scream 6 from Scream 5, making an even better sequel. So I'm really glad they were able to do 2 movies, but I'm also really excited to see potentially director Christopher Landon helm this franchise as well. Now, once again, take this all with a grain of salt. These are just rumors and speculation at the moment, but we have seen Christopher Landon's Instagram account following many different actors and people in general that have been involved with the Scream franchise in the past, including Matthew Lillard and some of the new cast members alike. That does not mean that Stu will come back, by the way. The moment that happens, I'm done covering this franchise. But if Christopher Landon was to do a new Scream film, what would it look like? Would it involve the same characters we've been following throughout the past 6 movies? Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Christopher Landon has been an unsung hero in the past 20-some years of horror movies, in my opinion. He has helmed films such as Disturbia with Shia LaBeouf, which is so good and so underrated, basically a Rear Window remake, but definitely has a modern take on it. He wrote the majority of the Paranormal Activity sequels and even directed the Marked ones, which is my personal favorite sequel in that franchise, and he also made movies such as Happy Death Day and Freaky. A killer repertoire in my opinion, and he would be perfect for a Scream film because he's clearly influenced by those movies big time. I think Christopher Landon's Scream would be much more similar to like Screams 2 and 3, where like Radio Silence's movies feel more like the energy that Scream 4 gives off. Landon's movies do typically deal with dark subject matter, but it's much more a focal point on like the characters and the story and the mystery, kind of like how some of the Scream sequels do. Now, I'm not against that at all. I do really enjoy Screams 2 and 3, but they're definitely my least favorite Scream sequels. I just hope he doesn't make Scream 7 too silly and we get a copycat of Scream 3 3, I don't need another movie like that. In fact, I don't need another movie like any of the other films in the franchise. I hope he does his own thing, whoever does the next film. I also love how radio silence made Ghostface really scary in Screams 5 and 6. I think my biggest issue with the original trilogy of Scream is that Ghostface is oftentimes a very silly and goofy villain, but he easily has the potential to be one of the scariest horror villains of all time. That's finally realized in Screams 4 through 6, in my opinion, where we see a really scary version of Ghostface. Part of that as well is that the kills in Screams 4 through 6 are a lot less cheesy and more focused on like the blood and the gore and really trying to scare you. It makes Ghostface come off as more of a menace instead of the silly cartoon character that he is through Screams 1 through 3. That's a little harsh, I know, but watch that scene with Tatum in the garage one more time. He's slipping and sliding in beer. You could put some comic sound effects there if you really wanted to. And then when Billy Ghostface finally kills Tatum with the world's strongest garage door, it makes this goofy sound effect for her neck breaking. And it's just not a very scary scene to me, even though it's super iconic. It's great, don't get me wrong, it's just not really scary in my opinion. Now, the original Scream does have some amazing moments with Ghostface. I think one of the most underrated is when you see Ghostface pulling the knife out of Dewey's back and then he starts charging after Sidney. Ugh, I love that. I just wish there was more of that versus the very comical side of Ghostface that we get to see, and that was also parodied in Scary Movie a couple years later. There are even moments in Screams 4, 5, and 6 that are a little cheesy too. It's always something that's been inherent to this franchise. Once again, not a bad thing, just something you gotta lay off of a little bit. You can only throw so much cheese on a sandwich before it becomes too cheesy. I definitely like a cheeseburger better than just a regular hamburger, but if the whole thing was made out of cheese, I mean, that's just too much. Now, of course, another reminder, none of this is confirmed. Christopher Landon may have nothing to do with the upcoming Scream sequel. That is definitely going to happen, even though it's not confirmed yet. Are there other directors that could helm a new Scream film, though? Now, I've heard a lot of popular director names get tossed out there, like Ty West and James Wan. I think it would be really cool if we got more of an underground horror director to do the next Scream film personally, kind of like what we did with Radio Silence. I mean, they had really just broken into the mainstream with Ready or Not in 2019, which is why they got Scream 5 and then, of course, Scream 6. So what if we get somebody who is kind of at like the same level of popularity of like Radio Silence in 2018 before Ready or Not? Me personally, my number one choice for Scream 7 right now is Patrick Brice, the director of both of the Creep films, the upcoming Creep 3, and also There's Somebody Inside Your House, which is basically a Scream movie. Now, if you haven't seen the Creep movies, they are easily some of my all-time favorite found footage flicks, and Patrick Brice directs and stars in the original Creep. He's countered with the absolutely incredible Mark Duplass as the main titular Creep character, who doesn't really have a name, but also technically does. It's hard to explain if you haven't seen those movies. But oh my god, they are so good and so scary, and easily some of my favorite found footage flicks ever made. The original Creep is also a huge inspiration for Red Right Hand, my Scream fan film, if you've seen that. But a big reason I'm throwing Patrick Brice's name out there is that he directs this movie called There's Someone Inside Your House, and it is basically a Scream film without the meta horror commentary. It's got a really good, well-written twist to it, some great characters. If he can apply that same energy that he did with There's Someone Inside Your House to Scream 7, I think that we could be in for a very killer flick here. It's a very efficient movie too, which is something that I kind of need for the next Scream movie. That's kind of been one of my biggest complaints about the franchise so far, is that because there's so many characters that can't be Ghostface, it's a little harder to make a mystery. We got to see a lot more new characters in Scream 7 and a lot less of the legacy characters because man, it's getting oversaturated. I really want this franchise to get back to its murder mystery roots too. It's kind of seemed like that wasn't a huge focus of Scream 6. While I still loved that film and there was a lot of fun and exciting things happening throughout the entire movie, I just think that for Scream 7, they should get back to what made that original movie so good. On point meta horror commentary that hits the pulse of society and also a killer mystery. If we can effectively do those two things, plus have some killer new characters and some epic gory kills, I think we could be in for one of the best Scream sequels ever. But what do you guys think about all that? Who is your number one pick to direct Scream 7? Radio Silence, Patrick Brice, maybe even Christopher Landon? Leave me something about it in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching this brand new Scream 7 update. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more horror content in the future. Please donate to the Entertainment Community Fund. The link for that is in the description of this video. And as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.